All right, good evening, everyone. Hope you all are doing well and had a great trading day. Let's take a look and see what is going on with Bitcoin. Had a very nice expansive move today. Definitely a really good sign for Bitcoin, right? We got right back above the 4 hour 200 MA. We got the very big expansive move that we were waiting for. We were able to close. Where did we close at? We closed about 60, right above 65,000, 65,008, which is great. Our high was 65,098 and our low being 62,250. So $2,750 about that we were able to increase price. So that's a decent sign. Now, that being said, it's going to be interesting to see what happens the rest of the week. Like I was mentioning, on Monday we had a pretty big dip. Sunday we had a dip. Monday we had a gigantic wick down, along with a red candle. And now I told you guys that I would be bullish for this week, right? So look at this nice bullish candle that we got. So here's the thing. I want to see us stay above this official weekly open at 5 p.m. on Sunday. So we have to stay above 63,752 if we want to remain bullish for the week. As of right now, with our new candle, even though it's been just a couple hours, it is a decent sign that we got a little bit of a dip down. It looks like to 64,452. So nothing major, and we're kind of consolidating up here, so that's a decent sign. But I would like to see us, come down a little bit just to kind of, further consolidate, maybe take out some of the longs before we continue our move upward. So 12-hour looking the same. 8 hour got a few nice, three white soldiers pattern right in a row. So that's a nice reversal pattern right there. I personally am not, I did make a couple longs today and I won both of them, but I'm waiting out to see, what we can get as far as a drop tonight. There is a potential that it runs without me, right? But um, I just personally, I'm not a fan of unless we're in a very bullish trend and a very bullish bias, I'm not a fan of chasing price and getting in and out of longs constantly. So that being said, on the 4 hour, what I would be looking for is for the 21 to catch up with price action for us to consolidate for a bit. It doesn't necessarily have to, but that would be one thing. At the very least, I would wait for the 1 hour to do that. Okay, at the very least. And that being said, a few things that I noticed on the 15 was we got a couple new order blocks that I drew here. And I'll put these out on the 15, but you can see we got this one right here, and then we got this one down here. Um, Ideally, I would like for us to potentially bounce off of this 786 right here, which is around 63,864. So I would probably say, and even I don't know if this if I were to raise this up, it's closer to that 63,940 number, but I'm going to put this here and I'm going to put a line here just as another area of a potential bounce. Um, and I'll probably make it green just so that we're aware it's a possible 786 here. And then the other area I was targeting as well would be for this order block that happened here. And that would be somewhere around, we already have a line there, but it's somewhere around 63,265 here. So we could put another green line here. But ideally, I would like to see price bounce off of either of those strongly, okay? I don't want to see us losing the 15-minute 200 MA. I don't want to see this yellow line being lost. If it does, if price does cross it, there is a decent sign that, we could head into the 62 range and we may have our top for the week. We definitely want to see, especially, now since it's Tuesday, I do want to see us to have some bullish consolidation here still. Um, it does worry me a little bit time-wise that we're pumping so quickly in the week. I was hoping that come Tuesday that we would kind of, start to get a little bit of a lift off from the bottom, but not this aggressive. Um, it kind of does make me a little bit weary because you can potentially, even in a bearish profile week, you can top on Tuesday. So it does make me a little bit nervous, but like I said, as long as we don't lose that 15-minute 200 MA, we have to assume that we're going to continue a bullish trend on the micro and the meso time frames at least. Okay. So definitely watch out for that. I know that we almost hit that 65 186 area. We did take out that triple top, that double top thing I was talking about, so that was good. But this could easily head and shoulders, and move its way down. So I can kind of see a shoulder, head, right shoulder here to kind of take us down, right? So just kind of be wary of that, guys. I definitely, want to see tonight how price reacts and what it does. If it's just going to stay in this kind of this bullish flaggish pattern, that would be great. But obviously, it's not always realistic to assume that, right? So what I mean by that is like having something like this on the 5 minute, we're going to stay in some sort of flag right here, to eventually break out, right? So I don't know how realistic this is going to be, but this would pretty much take you to that 66 number that I have above. So that would be the best case scenario for the Bulls, but I'm not 100% adamant about that happening. It does make me, like I said, a little worried, especially since we have a couple order blocks too that we need to have fulfilled. So just kind of keep that in mind, guys. I'm a little bit weary of price right now. I personally am not going to long this. Again, not financial advice as usual, but um, I definitely want to look to see kind of what it does tonight, and I'll look for a possible setup in the morning. That being said, let's go ahead and take a look at liquidity. So for right now, you got to target that 65 186 still above, following that 65 705, and then down below you got 63 872 and you got 63 265. So we'll see how that translates into the liquidity. Let's go and take a look at that. All right, so let's move into the 4 hour. So, taking a look at liquidity, we almost got to that red area, right? We almost got to 65, what was it, 65.8, it looks like is where it starts. So we got close, but we didn't quite get there yet. Um, we do have this yellow area down here to 60,000, what is it, 60,000, 61,252 to 60,393. So that's definitely something to think about. Yeah, even if I kind of zoom out, you can see there's red above and there's red below. Honestly, it's really going to depend on how price consolidates tonight. That's kind of going to kind of dictate how our week is going to go. Let me see if I can kind of drill down further and get more insight here. Um, let's see. So your daily is still bullish on trend diff, but everything else is neutral. It was bullish, but it's neutral now. Goodness. Yeah, I'm torn. Let me kind of move this back down. I got rid of the aggregation and I'm getting rid of some of these liquidity pools. So ideally, yeah, it looks like we could head to 63 975-ish area, which how does that align here? 63 872. That's very close to the support line and the 786 level. So we could ideally bounce off of there. But you do have bridges to take us down to about 63 144, which basically aligns with this 63 265 almost. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, I I do think that we're going to keep going up based off of liquidity, but I don't know how far we're going to potentially drop first if we do drop. Me personally, I would be looking for an entry at around 63 9, and if not, then I would basically be putting my stop loss somewhere in here in the 62 range potentially. Kiyotaka, our free order book, shows liquidity down to, or sorry, orders down to 63 480. So that really more aligns with the top, closer to the top of this order block right here. So taking out this little wick right here, which is interesting. So that is definitely a potential possibility of that happening. Um, yeah, guys, it's gonna be interesting. I'm going to long, but I'm gonna be looking for a discounted entry. I'm not gonna long here because this does look like a head and shoulders type of pattern to me for right now. Um, 15-minute everything reset to zero. That's interesting for trend diff. Um, let's see if I aggregate this a little bit. to give me any more insight. So a 6 tells me that there's some at 64 even almost. 7 gets rid of it. Yeah, honestly, guys, I mean, 15 minutes showing us that we're going to get a bounce off of 64, just taking out this wick right here, 64,000 almost even, 64.2-ish area. Man, I would really love a deeper retracement than that, but beggars can't be choosers, right? Um, yeah, I mean, overall, I'm gonna have to say, I'm gonna go based off of this order book right here for right now. Since I'm getting some conflicting information, I have to say that, I see us potentially, if we were to drop, getting into the 63 range, kind of fulfilling that order block, and then maybe getting a bounce up from there. That's kind of my mindset right now. Maybe losing that 5 minute 200 MA, dropping down here, getting into the 63 area, and then getting that bounce back. So that's kind of what I'm seeing for tonight, guys. Anywhere between 63 450-ish area all the way up to 63.9, I would say would be kind of where we might get a discount for us to long it. That's what I'm seeing so far. That's kind of what the charts are telling me. If we get the discount. Now, there is a potential, right, that we can just rip. We won't get any sort of discount and we just keep going. Um, but I'm definitely not bearish right now. I'm just looking for a discount strategically. So that's what I'm gonna be keeping my eye out for. I might even put two different limit orders in that area just to see which ones hit. With the stop loss way down below into the 62 area. But yeah, that's what I'm seeing for right now. I'm not seeing anything bearish just yet. So keep that in mind. And then as far as, let's take a look at the simple map, see if I can get any more clarity from there. But our simple map is showing that there is more liquidity to the downside, at least 100x and a little bit of 50x as far as the scalping timeframes go. So your 5, your 15, and your hourly. Um, let's see. So if we were to go down, it does look like we have a stopping point of about 63,870, and then you have a little hill to try to get over at a 63,840. So you could kind of just roll down this way and then come back up and possibly be able to take some more out. So if anything, even a limit at 63.9 might be a good idea. The only thing is you'd have to put your stop somewhere down into here because you would want to make sure that you didn't get knocked out if it got to the low 63 range, even high 62s. But you could potentially ride it up to, the 66 area, like even 66, 67 even, it looks like on the order book, and even higher than that. So it could be a pretty, you could even long the 4 hour with this, just with having a deeper stop. That might be the safest move, honestly, at this point. That sounds like a good idea to me, actually. I might actually do that. But I would look to see for some of these orders to get fulfilled. Like this is the only thing that gives me caution about longing right now. Like I want to see this at least get tapped, or for some of these to get removed. Something to happen down here because this is really heavy. Um, so it makes me think that we're gonna, fulfill at least one of those order blocks, if not part of the other. So just be mindful of that, But like I said, you could have one at 63.9 and one at 63.5 or 63.4 in case it gets there. But that's kind of what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing any sort of, I mean, you could short this, right? But just be mindful that you'd probably have to take profits quickly. You could definitely short this down if you think this is a head and shoulders. That's definitely a possibility. But my only, advice, and again, not financial advice, would be to take profits quickly. Because I don't see this going or trend changing to the downside. On your bigger time frames, your 4 hour and your daily, for example, it does look kind of the same way. That you can get down to the 63.8 area. I keep on seeing 63.870, and then you kind of have a little bit of a hill to get over before you can roll down and get into 63.6, 63.5, etc. So that would be the play to me is waiting for the long. I'm personally going to probably do that. And if I don't get my discount, I don't get my discount, so be it. But that's going to be my next potential play is to wait for that. So, anyways, guys, I hope that you found this information helpful. As always, feel free to use my code Sean if you do want to utilize Trading Different to help you with your setups and learning and looking at where liquidity is at. Tradingdifferent.com/code/Sean to get your 10% discount on that. But with that being said, guys, I am going to leave it here. I hope you guys have a wonderful night, and I will talk to you in the morning. Take care.